Hello, good African people. Yes. Thank you very much. Those who are watching, the channel is called Africa Reimagined. My name is Kwame Gonza, and of course, I always come here to comment about world events and how they affect Africa, our continent, because I'm more interested, as you can see the channel and what it says. I'm more interested in Africa as an African and people of African descent and their thinking and their welfare. Definitely. Today, I've come to talk about Joe Biden, who is in the Middle East. He is in the Middle East. He has been in Israel, where he was shaking hands. Of late, Joe Biden has been, uh, he has become a laughing stock. Okay, the president of the United States has become a laughing stock. Okay, he has become something to laugh at for the rest of the world because of his deteriorated faculties. He cannot understand what he's doing anymore, and in fact, I wonder why they elected. We have a problem in this world. Actually, we've been talking to to the youth about these things. We've been talking about Africa itself, about the idea of electing these very old people uh, who are out of touch with the reality, in the world. And we have been thinking that this issue is only affecting Africa, but rather it turns out it is affecting the whole world. So what does Africa has to learn? What is in this trip of Biden in the Middle East? What is in it for Africa? What is Africa going to learn from this trip? Number one, the United States is and all of Europe, of course. The United States is just a flagship of Western civilization. And that is why all the other European countries, all the white countries, they move around the United States like lap dogs. They follow around the United States like lap dogs. The United States is big trouble, economic trouble, big economic trouble, deindustrialization, economic contraction. The economy is not growing. Okay, so that one should sink in first of all. The United States does not have money. Okay, is becoming poorer. So once the economy is contracting, then it becomes poorer. Okay, yes, it becomes poorer. The economy is contracting, is not growing, and is in big problems, big problems. Unemployment skyrocketing, homelessness, you know, skyrocketing in California, Los Angeles. So it is in big trouble. So what are the lessons for us to learn before I break it down? What are the lessons for us to learn from this as Africans? Number one, the arrogance does not pay off. The United States has been arrogant all around the world for a very long time. So it is necessary, is important to balance between arrogance, and the future. You have to be humble, man. You have to be humble. And this does not only apply to individuals, but also nations. People have to be humble, because in the next day you may think that this day you may think that you're very rich. In the next day you are begging. You're going around, Venezuela, begging for oil. You've caused these problems on yourselves. You have been provoking Russia and going into this place, Europe, and provoking Russia and extending towards Russia and piling weapons. And you have caused this energy crisis. And now you are running around to Venezuela. You have been demonizing Venezuela, the same country you have been demonizing. And you are now begging for Venezuela's oil. And when Venezuela refused to give you the oil, now you are running to the Middle East, going to Algeria, going to Morocco, going to Africa in Morocco. I'm not saying Morocco and Algeria is in the Middle East. Morocco and Algeria definitely is not in the Middle East. But you have been coming to Africa because they came to Algeria. You've seen Blinken come to Algeria and Morocco, the Secretary of State. So you have to be humble, eh? Because if you keep spreading this arrogancy around the world, one day you are going to pay for it, and people are watching. We are not in the dark ages where information was not flowing. People now are watching what you are saying. People are paying attention to what you are saying, and people are recording what you are saying. Videos are running around where Biden, you know, did not agree before he became president. Biden did not agree with with the provocation of Russia. Okay, now, but he, as a president, is being trained how to provoke Russia, what to say. He's being trained by these invisible forces about what to say to provoke Russia, to continue provoking Russia. So not only individuals, but also nations have to be humble. You have to be humble. The arrogance cannot rule the world anymore. So that is number one. What does Africa learn from this situation, from Biden's trip to the Middle East? Number two, Africa needs to awaken to itself. Africa needs to awaken to the reality that the world has changed and we need to take our destiny into our own hands. And we have enough resources, of course. This has been said for a very long time that we have our own resources. And now we have enough people to build these resources, to take care of these resources. We have enough people. We have the capability. I've said in the past, we don't need the United States to protect us militarily. We do not need it. We have the youngest population in the world. United States has an aging population. We have a population of 1.4 billion people. And then when we add our diaspora, we have more than 1.7 billion people as Africans. So we don't need the United States to protect us if we have the youngest population in the world. What young population do they have to protect us? So we can protect ourselves. So we have the human resources, we have the material resources. So what else do we need? We have enough intellectual, resources to be able to build our continent. So we don't need anything from the United States. It's a country which is becoming very poor. They're struggling. It's an economy which is shrinking. And that is in addition to the European countries and nations. Their economies are shrinking. I want you to go out and check the data, starting 2020. All of Europe, France, Germany, all these nations, their economies are shrinking and they are looking for where to exploit. And these are parasites, I'm saying. These nations are parasites. So as Africans, we have to pay attention to these things. So Africa has to come to the awakening and the understanding that we have to take matters into our own hands. So I woke up to take, to do this video. Where I am right now, it is 2:30 because this thing has been sitting on my head, and I said, why should I not talk about it before it dissipates from my head? But Africa has to come to the understanding that Europe is a parasite, because for the last 600 years, these people have been exploiting us. I mean, and when I talk about Europe, I mean to include all the other European attached nations like Canada, Australia, the United States. All these are Europeans. There's no difference between these people and the Europeans. So when they have differences, it's their own tribal issues, like how you see World War One and World War II happened because of European tribal wars, and then they termed it as World War One and World War II. So those are their differences, and when they start fighting, their fighting gets ugly, very, very ugly, that they want to destroy the whole world. And this we must not allow them. So number two, Africa has to understand, including the African leaders who have been moving around with low self-esteem, no confidence. They have to learn and understand that the world in which we are living today necessitates us as Africans to be strong. We have to be strong. The weak nations in the future will not survive. So that is number two. Now, number three, we have to learn that the United States and its European allies do not care about human rights. They do not care about human rights. Okay? Biden was in Israel where he was shaking, air. He was not, he has, you know, the faculties have deteriorated. Okay? He's shaking hands with the empty air. You can go out and check that video. So what we are saying is that the United States does not respect human rights, even though they climb on top of houses and claim it on top of pulpits and claim that they are champions of human rights. They don't respect human rights. For a very long time, the people in the Middle East have been suffering under Israel occupation, murder, apartheid. Israel has become an apartheid state that has occupied the land of the Palestinians, and the Palestinian people are being killed. By Biden went to Israel, and he was there. He doesn't speak about these things, the atrocities, the murder that is being, the genocide that is being committed by Israel. It is not spoken about, at all. He doesn't speak about it. So it is time for the African people to understand that the United States and all the European countries are hypocritical nations. They are not about human rights. These nations are not about human rights. They are about greed, robbery, and plunder of the rest of the world. As long as it is, they are weak. They are weak nations, especially the global south. So that should sink in. The next time any organization like Transparency International, Human Rights Watch, and whatever, all these organizations come to Africa or any part of Africa or any part of the global south trying to talk about human rights, you should immediately dismiss them. Dismiss them. Whether it is the UN, whether it is the what. These organizations should not come to Africa, whether to Ethiopia or anywhere, talking about human rights. They should not talk about human rights. They are always bringing up the genocide in Israel, the genocide against the Jews. What of the 50 million people who have died in Africa? Was that not a genocide? Recently, Belgium returned the body of Prime Minister Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba. What of the 20 million people that were killed by Europe in the Congo? Is that not a genocide? What of the 10 million who were killed in Namibia by Germany? Is that not a genocide? So the next time Europeans come around talking about human rights, they should be dismissed in whatever color, and their organizations, whatever NGOs, whatever United Nations, they should be dismissed until these issues are addressed. Africa needs to set up its own human rights watch. Its own human rights watch to bring these nations to accountability for the murder of Africans, for the genocide of Africans. This is not even genocide. This is triple genocide that happened to Africans. What of those who were taken as slaves and those who were murdered and thrown into the Atlantic Sea during the slave voyages? Okay, so Africa has to understand this. My name is Kwame Gonza, and I would like to say that we are engaged in signing petitions. We are pushing petitions, and those petitions are for the unification of Africa, a single passport for all African people, and a single currency. And if you are an African and people of African descent, or any person of African descent, then you need to sign onto these petitions. And we are pushing these petitions with the support and the endorsement of the PLO Lumumba Foundation, Pan-African Daily TV, Dr. Edmond Folfak, a renowned oncologist at Ohio State University Medical Center. And we are pushing them together with all these people like the Sister Shanice Show. Sister Shanice, you all know her as a great media personality in the Pan-Africanist. she is serving the African people. So we are pushing these petitions. Number one, we need Africa to be united. We are demanding for a united Africa in this very year or the next year. And then we are demanding for a single passport. We are demanding for an end to all wars on the African continent, starting with the war in Cameroon. I'm going to put those petitions in the comment section. I'm going to pin that comment. The first comment that is going to be pinned on this video, you need to go out there and sign those 3 petitions. And now those 3 petitions, after signing, you need to send them to 3 of your favorite contacts and encourage them also to do the same thing, because we are pushing these petitions. These petitions should be able to reach out to our big African celebrities like Burna Boy, Wizkid, all these celebrities, Jose Chameleone of Uganda, and all the other big celebrities in Kenya, South Africa, and all over, who care about our African continent. So that is what we need to do. The redemption or the liberation of Africa is not going to come from the African heads of state. It is going to come from we, the African people, pushing forward. Liberation has not always come from the mainstream. Liberation has always come from the people themselves. When you are talking about in Haiti in 1791, and when you are talking about Nkrumah was not in the mainstream. Okay, so liberation, the stoppage of slavery, the stoppage of colonialism, all those did not come from the mainstream political system or from the mainstream anything, or mainstream media or whatever. So you need to understand that we as Africans, we have to do the work before we can see liberation, and the work starts today. So this is a rollout of the things to come. And somebody would ask, what has a petition got to do? The petition is a mobilization tool, and that is what we are trying to say, that we need to push together, we need to work together. So I want to thank you once again. My name is Kwame Gonza. The channel is called Africa Reimagined, and today I have been talking about what is in the trip of Biden to the Middle East for Africa, and what are the lessons for Africa in this trip. I want to thank you very much. Like the channel, comment down here, and try and invite others so that they can be part of this journey in which we are engaged in liberating our continent, Africa, from external aggression and taking it back to build it for all Africans. Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Gonza, and the channel is called Africa Reimagined. Be blessed, and Africa must unite.